So Harry Maguire was the player of the match. Scott McTominay got the match winner, though. And there was a feeling that it might be quite a cautious substitution from Eric Ten Hag. And yet, Scott McTominay is the joint highest scoring substitute in the league. He's got 7 goals. He was already on his highest scoring Premier League season.
Yeah, I think for both managers, obviously Gary mentioned in the commentary that he felt it was maybe a negative that both managers were maybe settling for the draw. But Scott's done it a few times already this season. So his clear intentions for him when Scott came on was to try and have an effect in the game. And he certainly did that. I think when you see, obviously it was a brilliant ball, but sometimes when a ball goes into the box like that, it's about who wants it the most. And he wanted it. He got across Kashi, and a big goal in the air. And he deserves that, because listen, he's a good pro, and he's had a lot of critics over the years. Question marks, is he good enough for Man United? But at the moment, he's a squad player. But what you want from your squad players, if they're on the bench, and they get on that pitch, make sure you affect the game when you come on. Don't be down the dumps. And that's what he's done, so he deserves credit for that.
Yeah, as you said, both sets of managers made substitutions round about the same time. It felt as though they were happy to see out a draw. That felt like it was the intention. Do you think that Villa's cost them more than Manchester United did?
Well, it hasn't now, 2-1. But, yeah, I just think Bailey, I thought Bailey was the threat. He was the one. He was up against Lindelof. Gary was saying in commentary, when they're going to, you know, surely he's going to change it sooner or later and put Darlow over there. So he was the threat, and they took him off. And I think when they took him off, yeah, I just thought it took the pressure off them, you know. And then all of a sudden, Man United put 2 subs on at the end, and it's like, right, we'll have a go at us for 5 minutes and we'll hang on. But good result for Man United. But they had to ride their luck. I thought the goalkeeper made some big saves, if I'm being honest, for Villa, for Man United.
And we'll have a look at them a bit later on, because it was a really good performance from Onana. But Man United just started the game well. Højlund got the opening goal, and he's on a great run of form and seems to be really settling into life.
Yeah, he's on fire. Again, it's took him a few months to get up to speed. It's more of a settled team now. He's got confidence. We talk about player movement in the box. Maguire does well. He's always a threat in there. And he just drifted in there and ends up standing there. United's both goals, really, just on the 6-yard line, one-touch finish. He's clearly onside. I know there's complaints earlier about the free kick that led to it, but striker's dream, on his own, one touch. Again, his confidence and that belief he must have now. I believe every time he probably walks on the pitch now, he's thinking, I'm going to score a goal for Man United.
Well, it's happening, because that's 5 in the last 5, then.
Yeah, that's great. No, it's a good return, for considering the first few months he had, and what didn't help him, whatever. He's new to a big club. The club is obviously, the team weren't playing well. They weren't creating that many chances. And he came to the club with an injury. So the pre-season side of things, he missed all that. So he's shown good form.
Yeah, does he look like a different prospect now from what he was when he first came in?
Yeah, I like him. He's a young kid. He's 21, playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world. Comes in, he's not fit when he first comes in. He gets in the team. Football's, if there's one thing you can bottle up in football, you ask any, it's confidence. And he's got confidence now. As Roy said, he'll think he'll score every time. First 9-10 games when he was going 1 goal, no goals in 9, he was snatching at everything. You know, right, he'll tell you, you've got to be as cool as ice in there. And there, you could tell, that ball comes in. If that was at the start of the season, he'd have hit that as hard as he could. It'll probably hit the... And he just places it under the goalkeeper. So it's all about confidence. He's a good player. I think he'll be a superstar.
And what's probably helped him, we look at the lack of strikers at Man United, so the manager's almost been forced to play him week in, week out. He's not had the options of taking him up and going with somebody else, because obviously Martial's been injured. No other great options at the club. And the manager spoke he would allow to get somebody in January, but obviously financial situations with that. So the fact he's had to play him week in, week out, and he's had the option of taking him up and giving him a rest, has been a big help to him. And
it helps with the 2 wingers. They're quick. So the fullbacks have really got to come out. And, you know, when Anthony plays, no disrespect to Anthony, the fullback can come inside. That suffocates a bit more. So it helps him. He can hold the ball up. As soon as the ball comes in, he holds it up, lays it off. You get your confidence up and you start getting in the game. And then all of a sudden chances come and you get in them positions. But as I say, big fan of his, big fan, but it does help with the 2 wingers playing and staying out wide.
And if you can get the goal, then obviously confidence grows throughout the whole team as well. Confidence growing with Aston Villa when Douglas Luiz got the equaliser as well. That's now his best ever scoring season in the Premier League. He's got 7 goals now.
Yeah, for here, they keep it here. Fernandes has got to get out there. He's got to get out there, and then because he doesn't get out there, he can literally pass that ball in, and there's 4 players around him, but he's got... Yeah, don't get me wrong, I wasn't one of them people who was a tackler, but you just got to get out there, get his head down And because he turns, it hits his backside and it falls straight to the defender. If he gets out there, he's got to make him do something. It's too easy, you know, for me. Some people, and as I say, I weren't one of them that went steaming around hitting people, but you've got to get close. You've got to get people's heads down, because if you don't get people's heads down, they'll just pick passes out for fun.
But they were on top for that 5 or 10 minutes. We felt in here there was a goal coming, and United were just slacking off a little bit. The intensity was gone in their defending, and we felt that was coming. And it's really harsh on Villa today, because Villa played some really decent stuff and had really good chances. But the way things are going for them at the moment, maybe that lack of belief and that home record has gone over the last few weeks. And mentally, it's they're probably in a poor place.
Well, they might be in a poor place at the moment with the result having gone that way. Douglas Luiz certainly wasn't mentally in it, a poor place after scoring the equaliser. And this looks like it's directed at Andre Onana, this little shimmy in terms of the equaliser. We thought it might be at the Holton because he's got the home support behind him, but it looks like it was I don't know, maybe there'd been something going on between him and Andre Onana, but we will wait and see what has happened in that situation rather than sort of speculating on it. It was just worth showing again, that's all. We're like a few, dance moves on a Sunday night. You enjoyed it because Manchester United get all 3 points, and they do it through Scott McTominay. I mean, you talked about the importance of being able to bring him on as a sub and his goal-scoring prowess is that's not necessarily the point of him, but he still does it.
Yeah, and it's a good move. You know, this is good feet. And this ball, we talk about levels of football. So you can't beat a good cross into the box. And when he leaves his foot, I bet you Scott McTominay's eyes light up because he knows he's going into a dangerous area. And then you want who wants to head the ball. You know, Man United's history, Man United is getting late goals and get late winners. And this is, I think, a brilliant goal. Again, I'd watch this all night. The act of crossing. There's a bit of pace in it. So Scott mentioned in his interview there, it's just about getting it on target because he knows the pace is on it. Cash is probably not a great defender from crosses, good going forward. When that ball goes in the box, who wants to head it? There you go.
Do you think that was sort of emblematic of Aston Villa thinking, do you know what, a draw is not a bad result for us. It keeps the gap at 8 points, and there was, if not a will to draw the game, but then an acceptance of the fact that it wasn't a bad result.
Yeah, probably with Man United as well. I think with Man United, I think the defender, Varane, plays the ball down the line to the young lad. So he's probably thinking, but because his touch is so good and he plays his feet are good, it just sits right for Darlow and he just whips it in. I mean, here you see they're playing it in the corner really, but the lad turns. He's got great feet, and then it's David Beckham cross. It's a David Beckham cross. You just got to get on the end. But Tominay's a great header because he doesn't have to do anything, but he's got to make sure he's strong to make sure Cash don't get in front of him, and he just makes the ball hit his head. It's, you know, he's done well, McTominay. You know, it's hard to keep on coming on a sub doing well. It's very hard. You know, people can sit there and go, oh, I'm not full. You know, he comes on and he wants to affect the game and he gets in there and puts his head on it.
But when you see him as well, Scott, he's a big, strong boy. You don't realise what a big man he is. So when he is going there and he's at it and the ball's coming onto him, you'll do well to stop him.
Well, effectively, what John McGinn was saying was the results haven't been there over the last couple of weeks, and neither have the performances been quite there. But this performance today wasn't a team that were necessarily deserving of being on the losing side. Is there some merit in that, do you think?
There is, but sometimes that hurts because the other two games, they didn't turn up and they didn't play very well. They played well today and they lost, and that becomes a bit of a worry. But I can see what he's saying. If they make enough chances, I mean, here, again, I mean, this... I think if this goes in, we're talking about the goalie for a week or 2 weeks because it's straight at him, you know, and he makes it a little bit better than what it was. But this is a real good save, But I think if Watkins hits it now, he waits and he gives him time to come out. But they had chances. They get that many chances in other games, they will win. But it's hard now. This is a sit-up for me. He gets there, he gets a full foot on it. It's a big chance, 6 yards out.
Yeah. There's a few that were good on saves, and he's a player who's had a lot of criticism, but there are also a few where there were Villa's chances to take.
You have to give the keeper credit. He's got to make the saves, but these are the moments, and these are moments for Villa. They're just off it. Maybe a month ago he controls that, Ramsey, and scores, and this is a great chance. Maybe he gets that little bit of luck for doing his little jig earlier. So John McGinn, he spoke well after the game there. He's talking about we create a chance, we played well, we're having a good season. It can still be a great season for Villa, but they just got to take stock. He mentioned 1 or 2 players coming back, and this is where you go back to your football club. Expectation is now a lot higher at Aston Villa. This is where you find out about your characters at your football club. Listen, no panic. They played really well today. They had loads of chances. They a lapse of concentration towards the end has cost them. But Man United are capable of doing that. Even an average Man United team can beat you with moments of quality. But take stock, keep the head and look to bounce back, because they still can. They've shown enough form today to say they can still have a brilliant season.
14 games left to go of this season for Manchester United. Gary Neville has joined us from the commentary booth on the gantry. We don't give you a booth, it'd be sheltered. Worth flying in from Vegas for?
I wish I'd stayed for the NFL, to be honest with you. No, it was. I went to watch U2 in the Sphere for everyone at home that's interested. I thought it was huge for United today. They couldn't afford to lose and go 11 points behind Villa. That would have been over. And I think that the microscope is on all those Manchester United players and managers towards the end of the season. I think that the actual barometer for them will be to achieve Champions League football, and it would have been probably beyond them today if they'd have lost. To get within 5 points of Villa puts serious pressure on Villa and a bit more pressure on Tottenham. So I think actually Tottenham may have wanted Villa to beat United today to keep them further away and not make it sort of 3 into that 2. So I think it was a good day for United. They win games without ever really being the best team. You know, Villa were probably the better team in terms of how they play, but what they do sort of have something about them in moments because they've got some good players.
Roy mentioned the word momentum at this stage of the season, and Manchester United seem to have it.
Yeah, I think probably from that Villa game on Boxing Day, that last 45 minutes, it seems to have turned a little bit, not just for Villa, but not just for United, but for Villa as well a little bit. They've wobbled a little bit since that moment, and Unai Emery will be furious with how the 2 games against Manchester United have gone. But you're right, Manchester United have some momentum, they've got some players coming back. I still think it's an issue that sort of Shaw gets injured, Martinez gets injured, because you see that second half, I thought they were getting ripped to shreds down that United left-hand side. When Bailey came off, I think Lindelof will have gone, thank you very much. I think just Unai Emery let them off the hook a little bit. I didn't think McGinn was getting in the game that much, and I think that in the end, McTominay's got a goal in, but it looked to me like both managers were playing for a draw in the last 10 minutes, and from nowhere, Dalot, who's become a really good, I think he's become a good performer at right back for United. I think he's getting to a level now that you could say you could believe in him beyond this season, and that's not always been the case with Dalot.
We'll come back to your analysis of Dalot, because I know you've got high expectations of him now off the back of the last few performances from him. But in this game, Scott McTominay called him immense, and you gave Harry Maguire the player of the match. Why are you looking at me like that? You did give him player of the match.
No, to be honest with you, I just threw to the actual sort of stats people and said, look, just throw me some stats forward and tell me who's got the best stats. They said Harry's got the best stats, so I just went with him. It was him or Dalot, actually, or Varane. They were the 3 I was looking at, and the goalkeeper. I just think Harry Maguire, basically, in that sort of first half, he won a lot of first contacts. This was obviously a big problem for Villa, and the ultimate one came when, obviously, he sort of got the header for the goal, and he made some really good interceptions at both ends. He's good in the air. He had a good day, he had a decent day. I mean, Villa still give United a really tough game, but I say, for me, it was Dalot, Varane, Maguire and Nana that were probably the ones that I would have gone for out of the United players, and I was just told that his stats were better, so there you go.
Yeah.
For people at home.
Yeah. but look, Villa, as we've been seeing, did manage to create lots of chances in the game. And for you, Paul, how significant was Harry Maguire's performance? As Gary said, that the stats show that he was there in terms of winning aerial duels, winning all duels, in fact, and, you know, stopping players from making that final pass.
Yeah, I mean, centre-halves player, there's a thin line between centre-halves doing well and not doing well. I'm pleased for him. I like him. He's a good lad. He's a worker. And he does well today, gets man of the match. But they miss chance after chance after chance. They put them in, and we're all sitting there looking at the back 4 of Man United going, I thought I've just let in 4 goals here. You know, and it's that quick of a change. I'm pleased for him. He's a threat in both boxes. What I like about him, when he comes up for a corner, he comes up to try and score or affect the game in the box. A lot of centre-halves come up and you just think, what are you going up for? You're just going up because the manager told you to go up. So, yeah, I'm pleased for him, and he puts his body on the line. You know, if I was playing next to him, I'd want him in my team.
And particularly in that defensive line, when you do have to make half-time substitutions, where Luke Shaw goes off injured, his communication, and his leadership skills, that's where those kind of soft skills, if you like, will come to the fore.
I thought he did okay today, but again, he's an experienced player, and he's getting a run of games. Obviously, his probably fitness levels coming up. He's getting up to speed. You're trying to get a settled back forward, which is obviously difficult with the injuries they're having. And, of course, they're also getting used to a new goalkeeper. So all that has to go into the mix. But I thought he did all right today. Obviously, sometimes lads give a defenders man of the match because they've been a defender themselves, that type of scenario. Again, when you think of the chances
It was
they gave
nearly
up
Dalla, it was nearly a right back.
Yeah, it was going to be one of it. Yeah, it was definitely going to be a defender.
Who did you think was man of the match?
No big deal about that, but I'm just saying we're praising defenders considering the amount of chances Villa had. But maybe more credit to Villa because they look sharp going forward and they missed the chances. But winning man of the match, the bottom line is no big deal. I think what's important for Maguire is he's getting games under his belt and he's getting back up to speed because he's a good, solid, experienced defender. But United still give up loads of chances. The problems are still there for Man United. Again, they got away with it today because the attacking players are scoring goals. But there was no surprise how many chances they give up today. They seem to do that every week. They got away with it. Well, they've got away with it the last 3 or 4 weeks. Again, I go back to it. Their attacking players are scoring goals. And that can get you out of jail sometimes.
And it's given them the momentum that they'll be hoping to take into their next few fixtures as well, because Manchester United have moved to within 5 points of Aston Villa, 77% chance of that place being a Champions League spot come the end of the season, and within 6 points of Tottenham. Over the next 14 games, is that doable, that they can claw it back on at least one of those, Gary?
They can definitely claw it back because they've been appalling the first half of the season. The results are shocking. They've lost so many matches, it's untrue. So if they can keep the players fit, which is, to be fair, a big question mark because they've lost another 2, it looks like, with Shaw and Martinez in the last week, then they have got a chance because they're certainly better when they've got that sort of strength in their team. All teams are obviously better when they have the players back, and the front 3 look more settled with Rashford, Garnacho and Højlund, Fernandes in behind. So they're better than they were. They're still not great, as Roy and Paul have just said there. I mean, they concede so many chances. They still don't see really any patterns and combinations. They don't control games. They don't sort of keep possession better than the other teams. But they do have players who can win matches, and they're a bit of an odd bunch. I've been saying that for a few years. They just play in moments during matches.
And that seems to be working for them at the moment. They've got some winnable games coming up between now and the Manchester derby.
Yeah, but if you're United, you're not going to look beyond the next game. It's as simple as that. This is a dangerous game to play when you start looking beyond the next game. The key for me is, and I go back to it, the attacking players are scoring goals, and what they have, certainly about Villa at the moment, is that momentum. And if you're in the Spurs dressing room or Aston Villa and you see Man United coming up behind you, you're going to be worried. History will play a part. They've got the goals. There's games on there. I wouldn't look too far ahead.
That's a great run of fixtures, but I mean, forget City. But in that next 6 games,
No, I don't know how you can say it. It's a great.
No, what I'm saying to you is, in terms of looking at it, if they don't deserve anything if they don't go and pick up points against those teams.
Yeah, of course, but you can't be sitting here going, these games are going to be easier for Man United, just because what we've seen over the last month or two. Yeah, they've got momentum. Listen, we go to every game. You always think Man United have a chance, but you wouldn't be sitting here going, Man United are going to win the next five or six games, would you? Would you be confident they're going to win?
I wouldn't be confident going to Luton next week.
Exactly.
But my point is, Luton, Fulham, City game, obviously, that's a complete freak. Everyone gets beat by them at the Etihad. And then you've got Everton and Sheffield United at home. So what I'm saying is, in terms of the league games that they've got, the 4 around the City game are games that you would look at and think that couldn't get more favourable.
Yeah, it looks like a winnable group of Bar City.
Yeah,
It's Man United,
they're
you'd hope so,
on
yeah.
a run, but they will have to. Tottenham have got some good fixtures coming up. Got some nice fixtures, Tottenham, so they will have to keep on winning football matches, but they're full of confidence. As I said before, if there's one thing you can bottle up in football, it's confidence, and they got that. The lads scoring goals up front, the 2 on the wing are a threat. I still think their game management of games is poor. Today when they broke at times, they're just giving the ball away so cheaply, making the wrong decision, and it caught up with them. They were just pressure after pressure. When they start learning that, and they should learn it by now, then I think they'll be a much better team. But they're always going to score goals with them 3, and that's the thing. Just keep it shut at the back. They will score goals. It'd be very rare they come off pitches from now to the end of the season with no goals.
Unai Emery seemed a frustrated figure, particularly towards the end of that interview. John McGinn was saying earlier that he feels that Villa's performances have been below par over the past couple of weeks, which is why results have dropped off, but that this was a good performance in a game that they just happened to lose. Do you think that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, they were good, but they didn't take the chances, and they could have done better on set pieces. I think that basically they're the 2 big things from this game today. Manchester United were better in the sort of set piece side of things, and also Villa was just wasteful in front of goal. Ollie Watkins had a frustrating day. I do think they lost a bit of impetus after that Leon Bailey substitution.
Can you understand the thought process behind that substitution, knowing that Aston Villa's, if they did get a draw in that game, would have kept that distance between themselves and Man United at 8 points? Does it seem, without the benefit of hindsight, like quite a sensible decision?
It wasn't a sensible decision, in my opinion. The manager probably gets involved in the game, thinks Bailey's give it his all. I put on a pair of fresh legs, but the other lad wasn't as good as Bailey, so the RB. So for me, it was a mistake. He sort of probably knows that himself. Everybody makes mistakes. I thought this was the one. I just thought Archer here, he's done so well. I don't know if he takes his eye off the ball and he's thinking, what am I going to do? And he loses the ball. But I thought Bailey was very good all night. This was the one. I think any other day you just maybe even take another touch and hit it in. They'll be disappointed. There's nothing worse than playing well and losing football matches. You can swallow it when you don't play well and lose. It's just one of them things.
You can see his body language, the manager. He is hurting so bad because he knows the team have done well in the season. It was a big game for him. And then when obviously he gets asked tough questions about substitutions, listen, it's difficult. If a manager if a player comes on and does well, but he wasn't having that question. He was a bit narky with it, which I'd like to see from a manager. He's thinking, I'm not going to justify what I'm doing to you. Again, Villa having a good season. They played really well. And of course, it's easy to analyse it after a game when you think you've made a good or bad decision. So I'd go easy on that with him from that point of view, because Villa have been excellent so far this season.
It's easier for Aston Villa perhaps to take comfort from the performance and be disappointed with the result if it comes at the end of a winning streak. But because this one comes at the end of a period in which their early season form has tailed off, does that make it difficult or more difficult to react to the fact that they may have been getting things wrong over this period, but once they get everything right, it still hasn't quite come off for them?
Yeah, I think that's as frustrating as anything else. Sometimes you get beaten in a game and you get well beaten, you've not created anything after a game. It's kind of easier to deal with. But when you've played well, you've created that chances, sometimes that can be more frustrating. But what they've lost, obviously, when you look back earlier in the season, particularly the home form, when everyone was coming here, everyone was automatically believing Aston Villa were going to win the game because their record was so good. Now, all of a sudden, over the last, 4 or 5 weeks, even going back to, was it Burnley, Sheffield United, teams have won here over the last week or two, that belief will certainly be gone from the players' point of view. So they have to get that back quickly. That's where you go back to them, what kind of characters you have in the dressing room. But I agree, what's been said, the reaction from Villa, if they keep playing like they did today, they'll win a lot of football matches.
Their last 5 fixtures haven't been the easiest. I mean, Everton away is a hard place to go. They've played Newcastle at home on their day, Newcastle, Chelsea. Chelsea were going to click one day. And United, it's not like they've just played against 4 teams at the bottom. They've played against difficult games, and they haven't got the results, but they played well today, and that's the positive. But I can see what John McGinn... We should also say
they are still 5 points clear of Manchester
and they
United.
are, of course they are. And if they win their next game and then they start again, the name of the game is you've got to get back on the horse, you've got to win a game quickly. When you're winning every week at home, and these players who have been turning up, the fans have been turning up, and they go, we're going to win today. This is 13 on the trot, 14. Then all of a sudden you lose to Newcastle, who've done a job on them and thoroughly deserved it. Then Chelsea come here and then they wipe the floor with them, let's be honest. And then all of a sudden you come here today and it got nervy at the end. It did get nervy at the end. And, they've got to get it back to winning ways because they're where they are because of their home record. It's as simple as that. And they've got to get winning at home again.
I think we all probably would have predicted this as well at some point. We never thought Villa were going to continue the run that we're on because they were going to win the league, and none of us ever thought Villa were going to win the league. So I think if they can put it into perspective that this period of the season, this difficult period, this choppy period was always going to come, and then say, right, OK, we've got to come out of it now because they have got a few friendly fixtures before they play, I think, Spurs.
They've got easy games as well, haven't they? Everyone's got easy games coming up. It's mad. Everyone's got winnable games.
Do you think you can't look at the table and say, if you've got Manchester City coming up or if you've got Sheffield United coming up, that there's no difference?
That's the way I'd be looking at it. I'd look at every game. It's going to be unbelievably tough in the Premier League. You start looking at games the last few days. People probably looked at Luton yesterday. And Sheffield United go and beat them. You cannot. In this game, we've been there before. I'm surprised the 2 lads. You can't look beyond the next game. You can't do it. It's impossible.
They have got Luton coming up, Aston Villa and Nottingham Forest and Fulham.
Winnable games.
In that order. And then it is the game against Tottenham, which one way or another should be good for Manchester United because one of them, if not both, will.
What do you think
points.
Tottenham would have wanted today? Would you have thought that they would have wanted Villa to beat United so that there was actually a bigger gap? I would have thought so.
Yeah, they'd be worried about United. They'd be a draw even, but United not to win, certainly. They'd be worried about United, of course.
Definitely.
So Arsenal go level on points with Manchester City, although City have played a game fewer than the teams around them, and just 2 points behind Liverpool. The other thing that they've done is seriously affect their goal difference. So they now have the same goal difference as Manchester City and only 1 behind Liverpool. And that could prove crucial come the end of the season. These small differences in a season that's looking as tight as this one could be significant.
Yeah, it was around this time last year where there was a lot of pressure on Arsenal because there were so many points clear. There were 6, 7 points clear, so everyone was thinking they're going to win the league, whereas now they're just sat there in the pack, right on the shoulder. And it may suit them better because they've not produced the best form to this point, but they have in the last couple of weeks started just to sort of look like they're going to hit that form from last season that really put them into a position that looked like they could win the league. So they just need to stay focused, calm, keep their players fit. They're good in a lot of areas, and if their front players who are really exciting can start to score the goals that they've not been doing earlier on in the season, they've got a real chance because they're a good team and they should be more experienced after last year. I know last week we were joking, Cara talked about the celebrations.
Well, there was the whole thing about the celebrations, but in the wake of that, having celebrated as much as they did against one of their title rivals, do they then need to follow that up with a win, and not just a scraping a win, but a really emphatic performance against West Ham?
They've done the right thing today. They've won emphatically. They're hitting the form. The celebrations point is not. It's not a weak point. I know there's a lot of jokes been made in the last week, but last year we did.
It's not about not enjoying it.
No, look, celebrate when you win a goal, no problem at all. But when you actually ramp up your excitement and your anxiety levels on a constant for a constant period and for a long period like they did last season. I always go back to Zinchenko tooting his horn at the fans after Bournemouth 3 months out. If you're thinking about that level of excitement and that sort of level of anxiety that he's got in them, that just saps energy. It's just proven fact. It's not a sort of Gary Neville thing. It's the thing that happens if you are constantly sort of here at full tilt. You do use up energy. They need to just remain focused and composed. And last season, they did lose their legs a little bit on the run, and the young players lost their legs. So they just need to remain calm, determined, that fierce, sort of keep their players fit. With Rice in the team, they're a lot better. Saliba's fit. They've got a really good chance, Arsenal, but they're up against Klopp, they're up against Guardiola and City and Liverpool. That's big. And Mikel Arteta, if he was to drive a bus through those two and sort of win this league this year, it'd be a monumental achievement, but he's in with a chance. And I think just making sure that they just stay calm and composed is important.
And being able to raise their energy as they did last weekend against Liverpool when it's a title challenger, and then put in a composed performance against West Ham, get that big win as they did today. Is part of the reason that they can have those calmer moments on the pitch down to the acquisition of Declan Rice?
Yeah, personalities and big players and experienced players. Yeah, you've got to get that balance right. Listen, we all scoring goals and celebrating is fantastic, but I agree with what Gary said. You've got to keep the balance. I think they're definitely more equipped than I think last season. I think players like Declan with that physical presence in there, the quality we've seen from set pieces today, the amount of goals they scored, obviously particularly today. But Rice will make a big difference to that. I think so. And I think it's always really important as well for any of the top teams. And Liverpool are brilliant at it. We saw again Man City. Set pieces, they're a huge part of football. We've seen that again today. You got Rice putting it in, you got big, strong players attacking it. Yeah, Rice is going to have a big part to if Arsenal to win the title.
Rice is a very rare player in that when we were playing sort of back in the day, you had sort of Roy Keane, Steven Gerrard, Patrick Vieira, players who could almost, that power and that force to go and get the footing and take the ball off players. He has that about him. He gets the players so quickly and he makes up that ground through those long strides, and he's an animal in there, really. He's a force and something that is rare. Honestly, it's really, really rare.
He plays every week, Gary. I think we can't underestimate. He's available to the manager week in, week out. He was obviously at West Ham and to Arsenal. So when you have a big player like that and you know he's available, he's not missing 2 or 3 games. He's always there. And he's that physical presence out there. We've seen the quality of his play today with obviously a brilliant goal. But I think that physical side of it, when you are having an off day, it's nice when you look at your team, you look and you go, we've got some big, strong boys out there who can maybe get us over the line today when we're not quite at our best.
It also allows them, I think, to play Jorginho, who can bring real composure in big games at times because he's got the legs to actually cover for Jorginho's lack of legs. There's a couple of times last season when Jorginho was playing and it looked like, it's too slow. Sometimes it's like that with Casemiro. He's better with Manu alongside him, Casemiro, but he was on his own earlier on the season with Mount and Fernandes. He just looked like he couldn't get across midfield. With Rice there, you always feel like they can sort of get there. Vieira was like that for Arsenal for years, just cover the ground so well. It's unbelievable what he used to do.
So at the end of 2 exciting games for very different reasons, we've got Manchester United back in the hunt for Champions League places and Arsenal still in the hunt for the title, Paul.
100%. I still think, 6 more games, then we get down to 8 more games, and it starts, in my opinion. Then I think it will come down to who starts playing first at the weekend. I think it's a massive thing. Arsenal played today. They've just watched them.
Don't stop people blaming us.
No, I'm not saying, but they've had to win today just to stay where they are. It takes its toll. I see it with Tottenham a few years back with the Leicester one. Kept on playing second. You talk to Tiger Woods, he plays match play. He wants to put his ball on the green first and then put pressure on. It makes a difference. When it comes down to it, I want to play first. I want to play Saturday morning. I want to play 12:30. I want to play, bang, get my 3 points.
Don't tell
and then
Jurgen
sit
Klopp
and watch.
that. He doesn't like those kickoffs.
Arsenal swap.
And they've got winnable games coming up, haven't they?
They've got winnable games with the other 19 teams.
Yeah,
It's a big thing, Kelly, but sometimes it's actually down to the fact that if teams are in the Champions League and they play on the Tuesday or the Wednesday, it then determines whether they can play on the Saturday or not. So I think there is an element of what Merson says. It was always better to play first because you get your job done, then you put real pressure on the opposition, particularly for a team that are trying to win it for the first time, like Arsenal. For City, probably can handle it a little bit better.
Not for this incarnation of Arsenal to win it.
I don't mean Arsenal's a football club. I mean this Arsenal group of players have never won a title yet.
It's going to be exciting. Still 14 games to go, 15 games for Manchester City till the end of the season, and there are plenty more twists, you feel, in this title race.